Fala galera, so this is the deck that I used last YCS, the YCS RIO got top 8. It was a really good performance and I like a lot the list. I liked it a lot and I got top 8. I lost to a mirror match in top 8 and I got second Swiss. I only lost one time in Swiss. Last round, I almost got first in Swiss. Close. And I really like the deck. I feel like it's not something completely out of the ordinary. Like there's some things that people were not doing before, but now I feel like this is gonna change. Again, no Jet. I feel like, in my opinion, Jet was never necessary, and with the inclusion of Snake Eyes Diabellstar, it's even more unnecessary. Like I said before, I think it was completely unnecessary, and now it's even more clear. But before we start, I want to thank everyone from the disciples that I worked with. We discussed to make this, and also Hash that I test a lot with him for this event, especially the Tenpai match, which was the matchup that it was the new one, right? And it definitely worked out because I play against two Tenpais. I'm sure that the two victories they were uh, they were influenced by the fact that we test that matchup for like hours in the weekend of the event. So yeah, so that's the deck that I played. It's 43 cards. The first thing that to talk about is probably the number of cards, and pretty much, of course, I know it's better to play 40, especially in a deck like this. But there were more cards that I want to play than spaces that I could fit the cards. So pretty much the thing was I wanted to play 18 hand traps, and I had those 41 cards here. Those are the 41 that I have. So I was going to play 41, but then I wanted to fit more cards in my side deck. So pretty much what I did was get two cards from my side deck, which was this one talent, this one call by, and push it to the main deck and play for free. It's not that bad. I feel like this deck can get away doing something like this. Uh, Talents was fine for me at the event. Not Talents, Call by was fine. Talents was kind of weird. I always have this feeling about um, Talents. Talents has this ability of you draw talents they have in Perm. They didn't have that talents. At least with Call by, if that situation happens, they at least have a Call by as a defensive card. And that's why I decided to play Call by instead of a second talents. Usually people prefer start playing talents before considering Call by. I feel like that's a mistake. I think Call by as the role of the card that's gonna protect you from hand traps better than talents. But talents has other application, but this is the most important application in my eyes. Uh, so that's why I decided to start putting call by inside my deck before considering talents. So that's why I did one call by and one talents. Uh, I feel the biggest change from before to this deck is the inclusion of Snake Eye Double Star, and I feel like this card changes everything. Um, I was one of the biggest defender of this card in the group chat, and I'm glad that everyone agreed in the end. And this card was absolutely like pivotal in how my event went. Not only because it makes the combo stronger because if you open multiple like Snake Eye and Black Witch together, you can reach this, but it make other combos better. Like if you open Black Witch and Wanted, you can get Wanted into this, and you also make your combo strong. And I feel like more important, it's when you open a play and extender and get the hand trap. For example, if you open Snake Eye Ash and Snake Double Star, and you get hand trap, having this card inside your deck make your continuation better, either into hand traps or if you resolve. Both scenarios are better if you play this card instead of not. Of course, there is a price. The price is playing this, and you're eventually gonna draw it, and it's not good if you draw it. But I think it's a price I was willing to pay because it makes a lot of your plays better when they do resolving. my plays have a tendency to resolve, especially because I'm playing Kobai, Downs, Recro Salt, and yeah. So it was really important. The fact that you can reach a negate through your engine if you draw both. Also, in grind game-ish situations is pretty good. Make tempos much better. Make tempo much better. Um, and the fact that now your engine, like your Snake Eye engine, can reach a spellcaster monster by itself without the aid of anything else. That's something that we didn't have before, and because of that, you end on Celine, not Celine, Appaloosa more often than not. So yeah, I think this card is mandatory. Jet was never necessary, and I feel like finally people will do it. And I'm saying that Jet was never necessary because your cards, your Yu-Gi-Oh cards don't resolve. That's not how Yu-Gi-Oh is played. Yu-Gi-Oh is played by you trying to play and you are unable to, and then you need to play those games. Those are the majority of the games. All the games that you can play are usually the games that don't matter what you do. That's my main argument against Jet. I feel like I'm repeating myself with almost 3 months now. And that was always the case. That never changed every single time. Your cards resolved in a way that Jet is relevant. It meant that it wasn't necessary. You would have won anyway, even if you don't play it. It's I don't know why people don't realize that because in my opinion that's pretty obvious. But yeah, I feel like the situation where um, a card like Jet Synchro would be relevant, it would be in a scenario where board breaks were the type of card that people were playing, which is not the case at all for months. So since the tendency is that people try to hand trap you, and then if they don't hand trap you, it means that they only drew engine. Doesn't matter what you do, you win like 95% of the time. The 3% that Jet probably adds on top of the 95% is not enough to justify having a bad card in your deck, which Jet is bad. Um, so yeah, so I'm really anti-Jet Synchro, as you guys can see, and yeah, so play a lot of Entrapped. Like I said, I wanted to play 18. I feel like the most obvious are Ash, Villain, Perm, Mourner. I feel like it's the next one in my eyes, and then you have Nibiru and Ogre. Ogre, it got a lot better. If you play a lot of hand traps, the more hand traps you play, the better Ogre is. For example, if you play 12 hand trap, I wouldn't choose Ogre. Maybe even if you play 15 hand traps, maybe I wouldn't choose Ogre. Maybe yeah, maybe no. But when you start on this 15 to 18 and even more pool side, then it got much better because usually you either combine this Ogre as a second or third hand trap, and then Ogre as a second or third hand trap. It's a good hand trap. It's in the mirror match, okay? And also that has the application that Ogre is actually good against a lot of other matchups, right? It's really good against Tempai. It's really good against Voiceless. I think it's above average against Branded. It has application against many other decks like Flurries, things like that. So I feel like it's a decent card. And again, since I decided to play that many hand traps, draw got better in the mirror matches too. Not only when you draw it in the first 5, and then you hand trap them a million times, including Ogre, but also because it works kinda as a board break, because you can draw a 6 card, and usually the interactions that are left after you hand trap them a little bit, if there are any, usually involve IP and or Appaloosa, which Ogre can hit both, more often than not. So that's also an application for Ogre. That's why I decided to play that. And Nibiru is a card that was pretty much a concession from the mirror match. It's me trying to win the event. I feel like if you want to top the YCS in Rio, maybe the better scenario was not to main Nibiru, at least not free. Maybe if you click Result main on one, I consider doing that. But I was really positive that if I wanted to win the event, I feel like when I entered the later rounds of the event and the top cut, the tendency was for me to play like, I don't know, 70, 80, 80% Snake Eyes, which was what happened to me. I feel like after round 6, I only play 2 non-Snake Eyes deck. I feel like 6, round 6 was Snake Eye, 7 was Snake Eye, 8 wasn't, and 9 was, and then top 32 was, I don't know, it was 3 decks. And top 32 wasn't, top 16 wasn't, and top 8 was. But if I continue winning, I would 8 Snake Eye, not 8, 4 Snake Eye, and final Snake Eyes. So like I said, the tendency as you go further in the event would be me playing a lot of Snake Eyes, and I feel like that was what happened. But again, if you believe, I had some students that questioned me that, like, if they should play Nib, and my answer was exactly this. Um, I I said that if your goal, because you can have different goals in the events, right? It's fine. If your goal is like, if you top, you're gonna be fine with your performance, then maybe you don't need to play that many Nibiru's. But I decided to do it. I barely use it, not gonna lie, because I played against some decks that I studied out. So I played a bunch of Nibiru game once only. But at the times that I kept it, um, it I only used the Nibiru one time against Francisco in round 6, I think, and it was pretty good. It was the one time that Nibiru was used game 1 going second in the mirror, and that was pretty good. And I don't know if that was enough to justify the card, but it was good. It was definitely good, and that's in there. So pretty much Nibiru is a concession for the mirror match only. Um, and that's how I see Nibiru. Nibiru is bad against everything, and it's pretty good, especially in an 18 hand trap deck in the mirror. So you need to figure out what do you want and the type of event that you're playing and things like that. And that's what was the main deck. The side deck, I decided to play Skill Drain as my going first card. I don't think playing a going first card is necessary, but I feel like Skill Drain is a little bit different because you can play it against a bunch of decks, including the mirror match. That's why I did the Skill Drain instead of other going first cards. I feel like the only other really good going first card that you could play that you can do against everything is Deck Lockdown. The difference is that I feel like Skill Drain sometimes against Tenpai is a little bit better when you choose second, because you choose. I was choosing second against Tenpai, so I would say it's a little bit better than Deck Lockdown. And yeah, I think it's a pretty good card. It was bad in my top 8 matchup, but not because the skill drain was bad, but because I only had one play and got hand trapped. And I had skill drain, and then I top deck a play, which was another Snake Eye Ash, and then I needed to send the Snake. I mean, if you really think about it, it wasn't even that bad. Like, it was better than an actual hand trap, because it was a card that stopped completely the turn of my opponent, right? So it was good. And my event was good. I won some games. I won against Melodios one time because I had skill drain. And I won because of skill drain, since my opponent also had a floodgate, which was Rivery. So he Rivered me and skill drain my opponent, and then we both stopped. And then I won because I had a big monster on board attacking. So yeah, that's why I decided to play it. I like it. I like it. I feel like it's still a good card. Probably the next floodgate they will limit. Bell, I was between Bell and Bestials, and in the end I decided to play Bell. One of the reasons was that I like to side Bell against Tenpai. I don't think it's bad. I feel like many times inside battle phase they don't have ways to interrupt this Bell, and then you use Bell on the Synchro 7 Reborn effect when they're trying to reborn the green, not the Synchro 7 itself effect. The one that he enters and try to reborn something from grave. Usually they try to reborn the green, and green will reborn, I don't know, the red, right? Usually how that goes. And then you bow, you're pretty much cutting 3 bodies, because you're cutting the green body, the red body, and the Synchro 7 itself when he would send to the grave and come back. So it's 3 bodies, 3 attacks. I feel like Bell, pretty much against Tenpai, you have one goal, not die. That's it. I feel like if you survive a turn, you probably win, almost always. So That's why I decided to have the bell. And just one little tip, I liked to, when they choose, which means I'm going first, I like to not put a lot of my defensive cards as back rows. For example, I side Twin Perms. I don't side the Cyclones. I don't side the Metaltron XII because those are settable cards. The only exception was Skill Drain because it's too good. But for example, I don't want to draw a hand with Imperm, Skill Drain, Cyclone, then they start me. So if I draw a hand with Skill Drain, Bell, Mourner, I know Mourner and Bell are worse than Cyclone and Metaltronos in this matchup, but they are not something that they can destroy. And that's something that I did, and it does work. I feel like it's a good idea, and the Bell works like that. But not only that, Bell is also something that another really big concern I have was the Melodious decks, not only pure, but Snake Eye Melodious. Against that type of Snake Eye, I did side Bell because you can Bell the Ostinato. So I decided to play the Bell instead. Also, I believe the Bell, it's better against Voiceless, which is a matchup that I respect a lot. It's better than Bichos against Voiceless. A lot of people don't agree with me on this one, but I firmly believe that against Voiceless, you need to stop in a hand trap deck like this. Need to stop them as soon as possible, really aggressively. Like they use any Yu-Gi-Oh card. You have a way to stop that search, you do. And Bell does that. Bichos are really slow in doing that. Sometimes you need to Bicho when you can, in a random Sapphire engrave that they don't even trigger me yet, like just randomly need to Bicho. A lot of people are ready when they are playing against the Snake Eye, they play around Bichos because Bichos is the most common way that they interrupt in the side deck the voiceless, so they try to use the what's the name, the ritual summon, to use the ritual monster to get the low, and the low is normal summon, and then they never give you opportunity for you to Bicho ever, because they usually try to Sapphire when they have an open board, so they have ways to play around Bichos. I really dislike it. I feel like there are other decks where the Bichos are better than Bell, but since my concern was more geared against the decks that I mentioned, I feel like Bell was a better choice. Also, he's better against Lab, and I drew against Jesse in top 32. I played against Cotton in top 32, and I did drew the Bell going second. And it was absolutely insane because he went for Arias play. So he Arias set a card, use the Big Welcome in the Bell, and that was pretty good. The Cyclone was a card that it was the last card that I put in my deck. I hate playing back with removal. I feel like it's such a waste of space because the tendency is that you're never going to use it. And again, I never played against back row deck. Every time I take it out, I will play a Burning Stump. But since I had the Cyclones, I never played against Burning Stump. But I did play against 3 matchups that I cited his name, so it was fine. I mean, fine in theory, because when I say fine is that it did happen that I sided this Cosmic Cyclones in my deck. It doesn't mean that I drew it. I can't say a card is bad just because I don't draw it. Well, I can say the card is useful or not if I actually have the intention to play. I feel like the intention is enough. And I did have the intention because I play against Thundereese. So I side the Cyclone in. I played against Lab, which I did side this in. And also I played against Voiceless, which I also did side this in. And when I do against Tempai, when I choose second, I also side the Cyclone in. When I'm going first, when they choose me to go first, I don't side the Cyclone. But when it's the other way around, when I choose second, I do the Cyclone. So that was the reason that I decided to play. Of course, to play against Vernic, I would side it in. I feel like I was a little bit thin against Vernic, so that was a little bit weird. And I think it's to be honest, it's the card that I dislike the most in the side deck because I feel like it doesn't come up too much. It did help me one game, and I feel like I won because of it. It was against Voiceless, where my hand was pretty good. My hand was 2 hand traps, which were awful. It was a Mourner and an Ash. I had 2 plays, a Snake Ash and a Black Witch, and I already had a Talons and I drew a Cosmic Cycle. That was my 6 cards, right? Including my top deck. And it's funny because I use both hand traps. I use Ash and Mourner, and my opponent full combo. This has always happened. This always happened in this voice. This is so annoying. So he had like the old guy and the negate and the low and the continue spell and the trap. So he had the setup, right? Even after I Ashen Morning him, it's I hate this deck so much because you almost never you either completely stop them or use two hand traps and the same thing happens, which was the case. But the thing is, in this situation, I had Cyclone and Talons. So it definitely works because I started playing and he didn't negate on the beginning, which I think it was a mistake. And then eventually I Talents, he was forced to negate, and then I used Cyclone on the trap when he tried to kill. And this Cyclone won the game because this Cyclone would kill two cards and I would have insta lose. And the Cyclone was absolutely insane and critical for me to win in the game. So yeah, it was really important. So maybe this interaction with Voiceless, where I'm putting more weight in the Cyclone against Voiceless, maybe something that made me maybe keep it, or and the running, of course, and maybe at this the whole Tempai thing when sometimes I can side in this going second because you can hit like in perm set, in river reset, and then if they skip your turn, you can set the cycle and use as a defensive card. I like to have those cards where they when they skip your turn with hit wave shifter things like that. You have something that you can either use aggressively if you have the possibility to be aggressive. Let's say they didn't skip your turn, they just make seal. It has set one, you cyclone that and try to play into seal. Or if they skip your turn, it's something that you can set and you can do. You play a defensive card, so the cyclone can hit the field spell, and then you can interact with your other cards into their monsters because there is no field spell anymore. So I like that interaction about cyclone. So it's something that I would keep. Metaltron was probably the card that a lot of people wasn't aware. A lot of people wasn't aware. Some people were, and I think the card is absolutely insane in the mirror match because it's pretty much a forbidden challenge that gives you a body. And sometimes this body is more useful than a random body. Many times you're just gonna go in second, use this Metatronus to summon your IP. This is the most common scenario by far, which is Metatronus into IP, just summon IP, don't do anything. Just keep both IPs and use this IP as half something, right? That's the most common scenario. But there are some other niche scenarios that people are, in my opinion, putting more weight. And this is like, I feel like an issue that I have with how people perceive the game, which is people put more weight in scenarios that are more extreme than often. I feel like you need to put more weight what is more often. For example, the whole Jet Synchro scenario, what is more often? Jet Synchro being relevant or not? The answer is no, it's not. The same thing applies to Metaltronus on an Appaloosa, and then you bring your own, and then you make the Atlantis link, then you went to battle, and then you kill to car. This could happen, but this almost never happens. First, because you usually don't play only Metaltronus. You have 18 hand traps on top of Metaltronus. More often than not, they will not have an Appaloosa because you hand trap them enough that they will have either nothing or something, not everything. The everything is usually when the Appaloosa is. The everything is usually what doesn't exist. If they are in the Appaloosa realm of possibilities, you probably already lost. So you probably need to play here or here. Either nothing or something. The something is usually the IP. It's some combination that includes an IP somewhere. You know, it makes sense how I think, right? And then Metatron is more often really good. That's the most common scenario for the Metatrons. And even when it's the nothing scenario, when you, I don't know, they go Snake Eye Ash Veil and they pass, it's still an extender, right? You can always use, if necessary, to just use it. Negate Snake Ash that is randomly on the field. Just summon yours or whatever you want, and just link, attack, make a hit, try to get their monster. It's just an extender. It's an emergency teleport, and that's the worst case scenario. So I feel like in this matchup, the card is really good. It has some application against other matchups. Maybe I can do a Metatronus video alone in the future to talk more about all the possibilities that the card have. But I think yeah, of course, I forgot. Going first in the mirror match, the card is pretty much a solid strike. which it's a card that is already pretty good, right? If they summon Snake Ash, use Metaltron, bring your own, banish both face down, and this is a Solemn Strike. They have a monster, they use an effect, you negate the effect, the monster is not there anymore. This is exactly like Solemn Strike. In reality, it's better because the monster is not even in their graveyard, right? It's not even in the graveyard, don't pay any life points, it's better. So going first is a Solemn Strike. Going second is a Forbidden Challenge that summons a monster. That's usually, on average, what happens. And the card is, let me put it here. The card is pretty good. Pretty good. It's not my idea. I feel like other people realize this at the same time, but this idea came, at least on my end, from the disciple guys. I don't know exactly who. Sorry about that, but it was from them. So give props to them about this. When I saw it and they told me about it, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I was aware of this card have potential. That's what I had in my mind, but I didn't know it would be this fast, this soon. This card is pretty good. And I feel like it's a really well designed card, by the way. Like, this is exactly the type of card that Yu-Gi-Oh! Needs. Like, quick play, do something weird. Like, it's value, but it's also interactive. It's just interesting. I would love to see more cards like this. Quick play cards and hand trap are the best mechanic as a defensive, as no engine in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they're flexible. Flexibility is something that is really good in a game. And that's why hand traps many times are the best choice of no engine, because you can use it going first and second. The same applies for quick play cards. And yeah, I feel like, I hope they do more of this type of cards. They be more, I don't know, whatever. This is not important anymore. But yeah, I like Metaltrons. At the event, I only drew it twice. I drew one time, and that was the really good one against Snake Eye, against Danielle. And I did the exactly thing that I mentioned. I used an AP as a Maya feed and just keep the wolf, and then I make a phlegm, and he was forced to princess, and then I won after that. And the second time I drew it against Jesse in game two at the, what's the name? In top 32. I sided against Lab because you have one really important target, which is Ariana, which you can negate in this version with Little Knight, bringing Little Knight. So many times they try to Ariana in your turn, right? Like they use one of the traps to bring Ariana. Ariana triggers and gets whatever, coup clock, one of the furniture, or whatever they need in your turn. So you can do Metal Chronos, bring Little Knight, and that's good. And the other thing, one thing that I didn't play that I could consider playing is Typhon, because if you have Typhon against Lab, you can pretty much bring anytime, right? Because it's Dark Thing. And you have this Metatronus against many decks. So yeah, again, I will do a video later just about Metatronus, but I feel it was a good card. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't draw it a lot, but it's an interesting card. I put more talents here because I wanted to have the 7 post side game going first, so that's why I did this. And Silvera was the card that I played against the board break decks. I barely sided because my intention is usually to only side this going first against board break decks, but I didn't have the opportunity to do that because I didn't play against any branded. I played against Thunder Reese once, but I didn't. It was 2-0, so I never started post side, so I didn't have the opportunity to side it there. And the Snake Eyes and the Tempais that I play weren't any of them board breaks. Sometimes they are, but they weren't. So this Silver is pretty much against. I would side this also. Also, I would side this going first against Lab, but again, I didn't have the opportunity because I won 2-0. So this card is something that I side sometimes against board break decks like Snake Eye when is board break, or Tempai wins board break, but I almost always against Runic, Thunderies, Branded. That's it. I feel like against any hand trap deck, I usually don't like to do it. And I'm saying this because the idea is to, when you open Black Witch, you have a way to find this without having Black Witch the responsibility to make a play. If you had any of those cards alongside Black Witch, use those cards to make you play, and use Black Witch to be a negate. And since you use this with Black Witch, you gain the follow up, because Black Witch is going to leave and then you're going to come back and set the wanted. That's usually how it goes. And yeah, that's it. I forgot. Extra deck, I feel like everything's pretty much mandatory. Some people don't play XS, I don't understand. This card is insane. I feel like I wouldn't top if I don't have it. I summon this all the time. I feel like the difference is, oh, you have 38, like I mentioned before, because you can do it, because you have more level weights. And I feel like the different cards are Link Spider, which in my opinion it's important, because a lot of the combos go through Snake Eye Diabellstar, so they are a little weaker to nib than the old combos. But if you have Link Spider, they're fine. So that was what I that well what that was what I did. I decided to play Link Spider because of that. And the last card in my extra deck was the Goddess, which I summoned one time, and it was good. It was against Kampai, and I was playing, and my opponent had a seal, and he wasn't using it because he was waiting for a better spot, and I was summoning monster. I had one time he had a seal, and I had 3 monsters, just make the Wonderwood Goddess. It was absolutely insane in that scenario. I don't know if that's the correct choice. I will test other cards here. There are other cards that I could play here. I feel like maybe the next one that I will play would be Typhoon. That's what the Disciple guys did. Most of them play Typhoon stats, so that's what I'm gonna try next. Another reason I played Goddess was respect to talents. Pretty much says that, let's say you have the full combo and with Appaloosa, and the easiest way to lose is when they talent your Appaloosa, right? So the idea is they summon a monster, you Appaloosa, let's say Snake Ash. They summon Snake Ash, you Appaloosa. On res, use Flam to put the IP up, and then if they talent, you're gonna chain IP to link your entire board and their monster, the Snake Ash, to make the Goddess, which cannot be taken by talents because it's gonna be alone and it's unaffected by active effect unless it targets talent doesn't target, so they can take it. So that would be a respect to talents, and yeah, that was the main reason. Never happened, but it was there. Okay, so that's it. Hope you guys liked the deck. I did really well at the event. It was a good event. And see you guys in 3 weeks in D. See ya.